Most people assume wild animals realize when a human is trying to help them. The animal is trapped, maybe caught in a net, sunk in mud, wound in a wire snare, and you move in to help. Cut the net. Pull it free. And the assumption is the animal understands that somewhere in there it recognizes the kindness. It doesn't. Not the way you think. Because in that moment, its brain isn't processing help at all. It's running something older, inherited, not learned, present even in animals that have never seen a human before. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's happening inside that animal's mind. And it's not what you think. To understand how the animal brain is wired to relate to a moment like that, we have to go back to a mistake scientists made about animal behavior more than 100 years ago, one that still shapes how researchers read every rescue caught on camera today. In the 1890s, a psychologist named Morgan proposed a rule still taught in universities today. It states, never explain an animal's behavior using a complex mental process like reasoning or intention if a simpler mechanical one will suffice. Simple, meaning the animal is reacting, not thinking, not judging, reacting. So, if a dog looks guilty after destroying a couch, the rule insists it isn't feeling guilt at all. It has simply learned that a particular human expression predicts consequences. Nothing more. For decades, that caution was valuable. It kept researchers rigorous. It prevented people from projecting human emotion onto animal behavior simply because the story felt satisfying. But it also closed a door that should have remained open, the door to a real testable question. Are animals sometimes doing something more sophisticated than pure stimulus and response? Then the studies began arriving, and a striking number of them refused to obey the old rule. One of the clearest examples happened in December 2005 off the coast of San Francisco. A fisherman spotted a 50-ton humpback whale, completely entangled in fishing rope. 12 separate crab traps, 90 pounds apiece, hung from her body, dragging her downward with every breath. She was fighting constantly just to keep her blowhole above the surface. 4 divers entered the water beside her, carrying curved knives. A single reflexive movement of her tail could have killed any one of them. She didn't move. More than that, she cooperated. For over an hour, she held herself still while the divers worked around and beneath her entire body, and several times she did something a purely terrified, shut-down animal should never do. She rotated herself. She lifted a fin out of the way. She adjusted her body into the precise angle that made the rope easiest to cut. A 50-ton wild animal was actively assisting in her own rescue. An hour later, when the final rope came free, she did something else entirely, something that still divides scientists into 2 camps today. We'll return to that, but first you need to understand what her body should have been doing in that moment, because this is the part almost nobody explains correctly. Every wild animal on Earth carries a hidden system, running constantly, beneath conscious awareness. It monitors the speed of an approach, the direction, whether eye contact is being made. The calculation resolves faster than deliberate thought, and animals that have never once encountered a human still possess it, fully installed from birth. No one teaches it to them. It is simply there, inherited across generations. Call it the threat engine. Here's what almost nobody tells you about the threat engine. It is not merely an alarm. It functions like a courtroom. It is constantly asking a single question: does this match anything in my catalog of danger? And the verdict determines whether the animal fights, freezes, or flees. Now trap that animal. Watch what the threat engine does to the body. The moment a wild animal loses the ability to move, its entire physiology enters a state with almost no human equivalent. Cortisol saturates the bloodstream. Adrenaline climbs to concentrations that would be lethal if sustained for more than a few minutes. Heart rate doubles, then doubles again. Here's the statistic that should genuinely unsettle you. A study published in the European Journal of Wildlife Research found that deer caught in fencing exhibited higher cortisol concentrations than deer that had been shot or struck by a vehicle. Cortisol, higher than a gunshot wound. Read that twice. The chemical cost of restraint outweighed the chemical cost of a bullet. The body is burning through every reserve it has, running every emergency system simultaneously, doing precisely what animals have done in this exact circumstance for longer than most species have existed, waiting to die or fighting until it physically cannot continue. From the outside, this state has a distinct, recognizable signature. Pupils fully dilated, muscles locked, not the tremor of a nervous animal, but the rigidity of a body that has committed everything to a single outcome. The jaw may hang slightly open, breathing turns shallow and rapid. Wildlife rehabilitators have a phrase for it. The animal has gone somewhere else. Its body remains present. Its mind does not. So when a human you approaches that animal to help it, here's the part that should genuinely disturb you. The threat engine does not register rescuer. It registers the arrival of an apex predator at the precise moment escape becomes impossible. That is why thrashing intensifies as you get closer, not the reverse. You are not calming the animal down. You are confirming in real time its worst possible scenario, which means every well-intentioned rescue begins biologically as the animal's final nightmare. So how does anything ever go still? Sometimes something shifts, not exhaustion. Something field researchers describe as more deliberate than that. The locked body softens fractionally. The thrashing halts, and the animal turns not away from the human, toward them. It holds that position, and it watches. That is exactly what the whale did. Return to her now, armed with the full picture of what her body should have been doing. 12 traps were dragging her under. Her threat engine should have been operating at maximum capacity, cortisol flooding, heart rate doubling, every system locked onto predator, closing in at the worst conceivable moment. That is the baseline. That is what trapped animals do. Instead, the instant the divers entered the water, she stopped resisting entirely. And then she did more than stop, she assisted. Rotating, lifting a fin, repositioning her body repeatedly into whatever angle offered the cleanest possible cut. Here is where the obvious explanation collapses on contact with the evidence. The convenient answer is a freeze response. She simply shut down under overwhelming stress. Nearly every animal has this mechanism wired in. But a pure freeze response is supposed to dissolve the instant a threat withdraws. She didn't dissolve. She sustained it while the divers were actively touching her body, and she moved to help them work faster. That is not what neurological shutdown looks like. So what actually happened inside her threat engine? It ran its courtroom. It checked fast, aggressive, closing in a direct line, the unmistakable signature of a predator against what the divers were actually doing. Slow, deliberate, no sudden movement, working the rope instead of grasping at her body. No match. Verdict, unable to reach a verdict. Researchers call this a stimulus mismatch. Not an alarm switching off an alarm with nowhere left to direct itself. That explains why she didn't fight. It does not explain what she did the moment she was finally free. Hold that question. We are building directly toward it. Because this pattern does not live exclusively in whales. And what happens in the next species is where this stops resembling biology and starts resembling something closer to judgment. Quick pause. Because this is worth saying out loud. If a 50-ton animal choosing stillness over survival instinct is surprising you right now, that reaction is exactly why this channel exists. Hit subscribe before the next section, because what's coming next escalates this idea into territory most people have never even considered. In Yellowstone, a research team discovered a wolf caught in a leg-hold trap, lunging and snapping at everything approaching a textbook trapped animal behavior. exactly what the threat engine predicts. One researcher attempted something almost nobody tries near a trapped predator. He stopped moving entirely, and he locked eyes with the wolf, did not look away. Here is the mental model most people are missing about eye contact. A predator closing in for a kill does not typically sustain steady eye contact. It is too occupied tracking your entire body, calculating the strike. Sustained direct eye contact, absent any other sign of aggression, sits completely outside the attack category the brain is checking against. Some researchers believe it may actually register as something closer to social engagement than a hunting posture. The wolf's threat engine hit the identical wall the whale's did. No matching signature found in the danger library. Within a few minutes, the wolf stopped lunging. It sat. It held the eye contact back. When the team began working the trap open, the wolf watched their hands the entire time. When the trap finally released, it stood still for a moment, looked once more directly at the researcher, then walked into the tree line. Field researchers describe this cautiously, as the suspension of the threat response, not proof of anything warmer. The alarm doesn't fully deactivate. It simply loses its anchor point. But consider what just happened. Identical pattern, radically different species, radically different context. That is not coincidence. That is a rule, revealing itself twice. And it is about to surface somewhere you would never expect, in a brain the size of the walnut. Crows remember your face. For years. In one study, researchers wore a specific mask while trapping crows to attach tracking bands. Afterward, staff walked across campus wearing different masks on different days. The crows ignored nearly all of them until the trapping mask reappeared. Then they didn't simply avoid it. They mobbed it, screaming warnings from the trees. Here's the detail that should genuinely stop you. Crows that had never been anywhere near the original trapping event joined the mobbing anyway. They had never personally witnessed that mask cause harm. Someone told them. Crows don't just remember a threat. They transmit it to individuals who were never there to witness it firsthand. And the relationship runs in the opposite direction too. People who feed crows regularly report finding small objects left deliberately at the feeding site buttons, fragments of glass, pieces of foil, not reciprocated food. Objects, placed there, it seems, near the one person the crow is classified as safe. That is not proof of gratitude, but it is proof of something larger. Some animals do not file you under the general category human. They file you under your specific identity. Which raises the real question. If a crow can evaluate you individually, can an animal evaluate you based on how you treat someone else entirely? Researchers conducted a simple experiment on wild-born capuchin monkeys. One human would either assist a monkey in reaching food or deliberately obstruct it. A second monkey merely observed the exchange untouched by either human throughout. Later, that observing monkey was offered food directly by the obstructive human. It typically refused. That human had never done anything to that particular monkey. It judged a complete stranger's character based on a single witnessed interaction with someone else entirely. Consider that for a moment. A monkey observing how you treat another creature may already be deciding, in real time, what kind of person you are. Now extend that idea one step further from judgment to active solicitation. Off the coast of Hawaii, a wild bottlenose dolphin, untrained, never provisioned by humans, with no prior history of contact, approached a group of night divers with a fishing hook embedded deep in its fin, line wound tightly around it. It did not flee. It swam directly toward one specific diver and held perfectly still while he worked the hook free, repositioning its own body whenever the tangle obstructed access. It had a problem it could not resolve independently. It located something that appeared capable of resolving it. And it stayed. That is not a freeze response. That is not a stalled alarm. That is behavior that resembles, from every available angle, a request. But before this goes further, You need the honest caveat because omitting it would make everything you've just heard less credible, not more. None of these accounts, in isolation, prove genuine comprehension. Every single one has a simpler explanation available: exhaustion, habituation over time, a stress response that merely resembles cooperation from the outside. Wildlife rehabilitators will tell you this plainly, without hedging. They can distinguish a genuinely calm animal from a frozen one, provided they know exactly what to observe: respiration, muscle tone, whether the animal leans into contact or simply tolerates it. Some animals in their care never relax. Not once. On release day, they bolt from the carrier without a backward glance. That is not a flaw in the theory. That is precisely what a wild animal is supposed to do, which is exactly why the cases where calm behavior outlasts every available stress explanation deserve your full attention. And the next animal on this list possesses the single most sensitive instrument in the entire animal kingdom for detecting exactly that distinction. An elephant's trunk contains more than 40,000 individual muscles. Its nerve density approaches that of a human fingertip. It is, without competition, the most sensitive tool an elephant possesses. In Kenya, juvenile elephants pulled from deep mud pits have been documented reaching back toward the people who freed them, trunk to hand, trunk to arm, sustaining that contact for several seconds before finally withdrawing. Scientists term this haptic exploration, touch employed to investigate, not merely to react. The motion is slow, deliberate, distinctly separate from a reflexive flinch or bump. And this is not an isolated phenomenon. Elephants mourn their dead. They recognize themselves in mirrors. They carry social memories across decades, documented returning to the remains of companions who died years earlier, touching the bones with their trunks. The cognitive architecture required to distinguish a human who caused harm from one who ended it is clearly not something elephants lack. Some researchers go further still. In multiple documented cases, elephants have been observed remaining close to the humans, who freed them for minutes following release with zero threat remaining, zero food incentive, and every biological reason to simply retreat into the wild. And they stay regardless. Not fleeing, not grazing, simply present. If that unsettles you, the next three cases will unsettle you further. In Gabon, a wildlife organization hand-raised a gorilla named Quibi, then released him fully into the wild forest's zero human contact for 5 consecutive years. When his former caretaker returned and called into the trees, Quibi emerged, pressed his face against the man's, and remained with him for hours before disappearing back into the canopy. At an aquarium in China, a beluga whale was swimming alongside a diver whose leg suddenly seized from the cold, nearly 20 feet below the surface. The whale pushed her specifically upward, toward the surface, not toward the pool's edge, after 2 years of working alongside her. In Brazil, a jaguar raised from a starving, abandoned cub still treats one specific caretaker differently than everyone else at the sanctuary, even 4 years later. And rather than drifting apart, as you would expect from a purely transactional relationship built on food, the jaguar has reportedly grown gentler with him as the years progressed. Here is the mechanism behind all 3 cases, and it's the piece that ties this entire video together. Scientists point to the hippocampus, the identical memory structure humans rely on. It tags emotionally significant moments far more durably than neutral ones. A threat removed by one specific individual is not filed away simply as humans, generally safe. It is stored as a complete experience, the fear, the relief, in the exact hands that ended it. That is very likely why some of these memories persist for years, sometimes for most of an animal's adult life. Now you are ready for the whale's ending. When the final rope was cut free, she did not swim away. She circled the divers, wide and unhurried. Then she surfaced beside each one individually, nudging them gently with the tip of her jaw before moving to the next diver and repeating the gesture. Diver James Mosquito later described the moment to the San Francisco Chronicle as feeling like gratitude. Scientists remain careful with that word, and they are right to be. Behavior following extreme physiological stress is genuinely difficult to interpret cleanly. But here is the fact that makes the simplest explanation begin to collapse. Humpback whales possess spindle neurons, specialized brain cells associated with empathy and rapid social processing, otherwise found only in humans, great apes, and elephants. For decades, scientists assumed only primates carried them. She possesses the exact neurological architecture a moment like that would require. No one can prove what she felt that afternoon off San Francisco. The data cannot settle it, but her alarm system simply stalled out. Nothing more becomes a far harder claim to defend. When she did not merely linger near the boat, generally, she visited each individual diver one at a time, deliberately. So do wild animals realize when a human is trying to help them? The honest answer is, not in the complete human sense of, I understand you are saving my life. The evidence isn't there yet, and it may not be for a long while still. Every one of the major cases in this video, the elephant remaining nearby, the whale visiting each diver individually, the jaguar growing gentler across 4 years, has more than one plausible explanation. None of those explanations can be fully eliminated. But here's the framework worth carrying with you. This is the single idea this entire video has been building toward. There exists a real narrow gap between an animal simply detecting that you are not a threat and an animal genuinely understanding that you are attempting to help it. Most animals in most of these moments never fully cross that gap. A small number, a wolf holding your gaze until the trap opens, an elephant remaining at your side long after danger is past, a whale circling back to visit every single diver before departing press right up against it. Once you see that gap, you cannot unsee it. Every rescue video you encounter from now on, you will find yourself watching for precisely where the animal falls on that line reaction, or something closer to recognition. The instruments used to measure this precisely are improving every year. Neural imaging incitations, decades-long tracking of elephant families, sharper documentation protocols across rescue centers worldwide. What remains uncertain now will not remain uncertain forever. The researchers who study this most carefully keep the question open, deliberately. The animals themselves do not answer it. Not yet. If a moment like that whale circling those divers stayed with you, that's exactly the kind of thing this channel exists for. Every video here starts the same way this one did, with a question that sounds simple, and an answer that turns out to be a lot more careful than anyone expects. Hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell to be fully aware when our next upload lands. Thanks for watching.